I think we're ready. Okay, it's 5:30-ish. Thank you guys for being here in the wet city of Belton. That's why we have a lake to drain it and then hopefully fill it back up. So anyway, thanks for being here on a muggy day. I want to let you guys know that Councilmember Craig Pearson is participating in this meeting remotely from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Mayor Pro Tem John Holmes Sr. will be participating remotely from Taos, New Mexico. Both higher elevation and probably better temperatures than here. Tonight, we are going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Wayne Carpenter. Our Texas Pledge will be led by City Manager Sam Listy, who's recovering from cataract surgery. And then our invocation will be led by Councilmember Dave Covington.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to
the flag
United States of America
And
to the
the republic for which it stands,
nation
one nation, God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge allegiance
to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please pray with me. Father, we love you. We thank you for what a wonderful privilege it is to live in Belton, Texas. We thank you for the freedom that we have. We thank you for your provision and your protection. We thank you for the rain. God, I thank you for all the wonderful staff and civil servants that we have here in Belton who are so dedicated and devoted to making Belton such a wonderful place to live. And I thank you for lifting the Rangers to a victory over the Astros. Amen.
Glory, hallelujah, amen. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we know which team is closer to God this year. So
It's in the minutes now. Take it back.
all right. Well, we will now call this meeting to order at 5:32 on Tuesday, October 24th. We're going to start with public comments. I have two public comments that have signed up to speak, but they are both on agenda items 8. So we will take those when we get to that agenda item. I don't have any others for just generic public comments. Do we have anybody else who would like to say something? Well, I will say something. Thank you to the fire department. I started a little fire and a little fire ring, and I turned my back, and before I knew it, it was outside and it was starting to spread pretty well. So I figured, instead of being the hero, I'm going to call 911. So I called 911, and our number 2 brush truck. I was hoping the number 1 brush, or the newest brush truck. And so number 1 brush truck came. So again, thank you guys. Again, I owe them an adult beverage or I don't know, Oreos or something. So appreciate it. Yeah, ice cream. Yeah, well, yeah, and I was screaming. So no, anyway. So anyway. So again, and it's one of those things when you need something like that, you realize the tension that's there on the ground for these guys, because I think that evening, it was Friday evening, I think they were being pulled in 3 or 4 different directions. There was not enough equipment or people to go around. So again, thank you to the Belton Fire Department. So that's my semi-public comment. So next is a proclamation for Chiropractic Health Week. I think I get to read this proclamation, and do we have somebody? I'll just read it into the record. All right, Office of the Mayor, proclamation. Whereas there has been a general increase in sedentary lifestyles over the years, leading to an increase in musculoskeletal conditions such as low back pain and joint pain, and whereas the public health crisis has also led to an increase in stress and mental health problems nationwide, and whereas research shows that physical activity also provides valuable benefits to our mental health by reducing the risk of anxiety, depression, enhanced sleep, and whereas in addition to expertise in spinal manipulation, chiropractors are trained to recommend therapeutic and rehabilitative exercises and to provide nutrition, dietary, and lifestyle advice to help people enhance their physical fitness. And whereas the National Chiropractic Health Month 2023 serves as a reminder to all citizens of Texas that non-invasive non-drug treatments for low back pain and other neuromusculoskeletal, man, that is multisyllabic words, conditions such as spinal manipulation and other chiropractic services combined with an active, healthy lifestyle may lessen or eliminate the need for riskier, potentially addictive treatments such as prescription pain medications and surgery. Now, therefore, I, David K. Lee, Mayor of the City of Belton, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Chiropractic Health Month. All right. That is hard for an engineer to do, but we get through it. All right. The next item I have is a presentation on our National Night Out Block Party Awards. Uh-oh.
Good afternoon. For those of you guys who don't remember me, my name is Wayne Cooley. I'm the National Night Out Coordinator for our city. This year's event, we held it on October 3rd. There were 11 block parties. And every year we have all the parties. They've been kind of concentrated in certain parts of the city. This year, we were very fortunate. They were spread out throughout the entire city. Each year we look at all the different parties and the different hosts. And we like to recognize a few of them. We recognize the party that best represents its neighborhood and the idea of connecting with its neighbors. That's usually titled as our best neighborhood block party. We also recognize the party with the largest overall turnout as the Community Camaraderie Award. These guys are the ones that generally get the most turnout from all their neighbors. And we also like to recognize the party that comes out with a new host or a new location as the newcomer of the year if they've never hosted or it's been a long time. And this year, we looked at all the parties. It took a lot of concentration because there was not a bad party in the bunch. There wasn't any one of them that we couldn't honestly stand up here and give an award to. But after a long and arduous conversation, we decided on 3 different parties that we'd like to recognize for their efforts this year. We're going to start with the Community Camaraderie Award. And that went to, if I call your party, if y'all would just step up here, we'll give you guys your award and take some pictures, okay? This year, the Community Camaraderie Award went to Dawson Ranch and Casey Gottschalk. That party was phenomenal, had a huge turnout and excellent food trucks. Casey's not here. I was going to say, you don't look like Casey. Let's stand up. Oh, that's good. Our next one that we wanted to recognize is our best neighborhood block party. Like I said, this one represents the connection between the neighbors and how well those folks are represented at their party. This year we recognized Brenda Lane and the host Sherry Pilgrim. She did a phenomenal job of bringing just her local group of neighbors in. And I think that was probably the best home cooked food I've ever had at a national night out party. So Sherry, if you want to come on up, we'll take some pictures too. Yeah. And then our last one, this one is Rookie of the Year. This is kind of my pet project. I really wanted to have a deeper connection with some of the areas that folks need the most relationship with the police. This year, we worked really hard, coordinated with a couple of different people, and we're able to have a party at Bell Oaks and connect with some of the folks that need to really talk with us and engage with us on the highest level. So this year, Bell Oaks was recognized as the Rookie of the Year. They were hosted by Helping Hands and Becca Prince. Is she here? Alicia? Okay. Well, that works just the same for us. Want to wrap it up. We really appreciated everybody's participation this year, National Night Out, and we look forward to next year and seeing how many parties we can get brought up then. Rangers. Go Rangers. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I was thinking of God when I
At
said,
least
it,
it
okay,
was a
he's the one that said it to you.
it was at least a Texas team. I'm happy we got a Texas team. I want to shout out to the Sergeant Cooley and Officer Minix. Officer Minix's first time co-hosting or co-coordinating, and then Sergeant Cooley. They've done a phenomenal job just organizing on the back end. They start this about May each year to prepare for National Night Out. So they just did a phenomenal job of working with all our party hosts, and then definitely shout out to all Beltonians for coming out and giving crime a going away party. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, it's a great event. It was nice to be able to ride along and tour most of those. So it was a really nice evening and semi-open a new park there.
Multiple communities. There.
Yeah.
No fence. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's good.
Come on.
Yeah, that's good. All right, next on our agenda is our consent agenda. Items 5 and 6 can be enacted by one motion. I'm going to read those really quick. The first one is minutes of the September 26th council meeting. Item 6 is appointments to the following electrical board and economic development subcommittee. I don't have those names on my little thing. So yeah, Robert Bass, Casey Simpson, and then Jennifer Ramirez replacing Mike Morgan. Yeah, I left my other piece of paper at home. Sorry about that. So the chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda items 5 and 6.
Second.
Motion is second to approve these two items. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. Got everybody. No opposed. So those two items pass unanimously. For those, item is going to be our Belton Employee Benefits Trust. One of the things that we were able to do is set up a trust to be able to manage the healthcare. And so that's we appointed the board for that trust. It's the same number of people as the council. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off one hat, put the other one on. So we will now recess the council meeting to consider actions on behalf of the Belton Employee Benefits Trust. And so we'll recess and now we'll call to order the Benefits Trust so we can take action on our employee health. Is that your? Yeah.
Let me just say, go Rangers. I can't help it. Yeah, there. So, as you guys.
Oh. Okay. All right. So in our packet is the minutes from the last time we did this. So we will consider a motion to approve those minutes as
We approve those minutes.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the last meeting from November 8th, 2022. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right. It passes unanimously. Now, item 3 is receive a presentation and consider action.
So as you guys may know, we've worked with Hub International for many years on our employee benefits. It's time for 2024. And Andrew Wegar is the representative with Hub, and he helps us navigate those waters that can sometimes be a little bit dicey. So he's here to give you an overview for 23 and talk about 24.
Great, thank you. Mayor Council, my name is Andrew Weger. I'm a senior account executive at Hub International. Tonight I'm here to present the 2024 renewal information for your employee benefits package. Before I jump into the presentation, though, what I'd like to do first is give you an overview of what was accomplished last year when I was here presenting the 2023 renewal. When I was here, the city had actually released a request for proposal for medical insurance for the current plan year. The reason for that was due to the city's loss ratio. And what I mean by loss ratio is the total claims that are paid by Baylor Scott and White, who's your medical provider, divided by the premium that the city is paying as well as the employees. That loss ratio in 2022 going into 2023 was running over 100%. What that means is that Scott and White was actually losing money off of the city last year based off the large claims that were incurred. So an RP was issued last year. We did have a few responses from the market. Scott and White did come in at a 4% increase last year. That was well below our projections that we had provided the city at our mid-year review, and we recommended that the city renew with Scott and White, which has been in place for many years. Part of that RFP process, something that we were able to secure during our negotiation efforts, was a rate cap for 2024. What I mean by that is, regardless of your loss ratio, say it was a 200% loss ratio, the highest increase that Scott White could present for 2024 was a 9.9% increase. So going into 2023, over the last, say, 12 months, that loss ratio that I spoke about before is still running over 100%. Target loss ratio under a fully insured contract is 85%. So 111% is well above that mark. So because of that, and the 9.9% rate cap, when we met with staff at our mid-year review, we had informed them to budget 9.9%, expecting that was going to be the renewal that was presented. And that actually is what we'll be presenting here this evening. So I'll be going through the benefits, what's renewing, and in providing your recommendations. I'll certainly leave some time at the end for any questions that you may have. So on this slide number 2, what we're showing here are the 3 plan design options that are offered to active employees today. So there's a base plan, a mid plan, and then an HSA plan. That's a health savings account, a high deductible health plan option. Again, this is the carrier is Scott and White. It shows the deductibles, out-of-pocket maximums, co-insurance. These are all listed on the left-hand side in the blue. And then you have your co-pays for emergency room, physician office visit specialists, all the way down to prescription drug coverage. Most of the employees today are enrolled in that base plan. That's the $1,500 individual deductible plan. And then a small number of employees enrolled in the $500 deductible plan, because that is the most expensive plan. That's the most costly for employees. And then we do have a few employees enrolled in the HSA plan. The good news is that these plans are essentially not being changed or not changing in 2024, with the exception of the HSA plan, with a slight deductible increase from $3,000 to $3,200. That's highlighted in the red for individual. That's due to new IRS regulations, but we anticipate little disruption for 2024. On slide 3, what we're showing here are the total medical rates. So this, a lot of numbers here. I'll break this down for you, but on the left-hand column, you'll see that financials in the green. You work below, it says employee only, spouse, children, and family. Those are the tier levels. And then you work to the right, you can see how many employers are enrolled in the base plan, the mid plan, and then the HSA option, with a total of 146 total subscribers. Columns 1, 2, and 3 there, that just shows you the total premiums. If you look at the combined annual premium, that's kind of in the middle of the page. It's about 1.2, almost $1.3 million in total premium for 2023. As I mentioned before, that rate cap was presented, and that's highlighted in columns 4, 5, and 6. That is at a 9.9% rate cap. When we met at our mid-year and presented our budget projection, it was actually coming in anywhere between 25 to 30% if that rate cap was not in place. Scott and White even told us if that rate cap was not there, they were going to be presenting closer to a 35% increase. So that rate cap did provide protection for 2024, but going into 2025, that rate cap will not be in place. Because of that, what we will need to evaluate going into the next 6 to 8 months is how the plan is performing, and if an RP needs to be issued for 2025. We did not make the recommendation to do an RP this year due to the competitiveness of that rate cap. We didn't believe a Blue Cross or United Healthcare would be anywhere near that 9.9% increase. That's why we're recommending that the city contract with Scott and White for 2024. So that's the medical piece. What I'm showing next are the dental benefits. These plans have been in place for multiple years now with the same vendor. It's Principal. The good news, there's no proposed plan design changes for 2024. When we look at the rates for this upcoming year, they presented a slight increase of 3%. When the city moved to Principal 3 years ago, the decrease that they presented that year was 17% below the previous vendor. So even though there's a slight increase of 3%, you're well below what you were, or you're still in a positive position compared to where you were with the previous vendor. So that policy will be guaranteed for 1 year. I expect we will include that in the marketing efforts for 2025 to look at possible bundling discounts. There is a voluntary vision program through United Healthcare outlined here. Again, no plan design changes presented to the benefits. And then we show the rates. Now, this is a voluntary program for employees. So this is paid 100% out of the employee's paycheck. UHC is presenting a 5% increase for the upcoming plan year. When you look at 5% on a $4.56 rate, that's only about 23 cents extra a month. So the service level has been very nice with UHC. It's a longstanding partnership. So we are going to be recommending that the city contracts with UHC for another year. And this rate guarantee is actually in place for 3 years. So we would not have to include this in the RFP next year. The next benefit that did renew this year was Oaks. This is a basic life AD&D, accidental death and dismemberment benefit. The city does offer this benefit as a flat $50,000 life insurance benefit. So this is paid 100% by the city today. This increase is very minor. It's about 9.52%, but that's about $968 to accept that renewal with Oaks. This is also coming off a 5-year rate guarantee. We typically don't see 5-year rate guarantees with any of our vendors. So we were anticipating a slight increase, but the good news is that they're going to extend this rate guarantee out another 2 years if you renew with Oaks, and that's our recommendation. And then the city does also offer voluntary life, accidental death, dismemberment, and LTD. That's a long-term disability. That's just income protection. Those policies are not changing, and the rates will just automatically renew as is next year. Then there are a few other benefits that are offered. An employee assistance program, that's EAP at the top through UT EAP. This provides counseling sessions if members are dealing with mental health issues, they need counseling whatsoever. That policy is received a rate pass. It's going to be renewing next year. The city also offers Legal Shield and AFLAC. These are voluntary programs. So with AFLAC, that's accident, cancer, short-term disability. All these policies received rate passes this year. And then finally is the HSA, that's Health Savings Account and Co-Administration through Flores and Associates. That's in a rate guarantee until 1/1/2026. So I just, that's the end of my presentation, but I just note that, like I said before, our target for next year, knowing that the rate cap is not in place for 2025, we are going to be recommending to issue a request for proposal for medical insurance, possibly dental as well. But just want to make sure you're aware that that's something that we'll be bringing back to council next year. So with that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? So I have a couple, but it's probably more on the HR side. So when we look at some of those plans, like the high deductible plan that are cheaper, typically what's paired with that is some contribution into the health savings account that's held by the employee. And I didn't see any of those specific deductibles, like what's the cost to the employee for these plans. I just saw or at least what I saw was just the costs.
Right now, the city's putting in $1,000 a year for each employee that's on the high deductible health plan. As far as the numbers on it's coming up on the.
Oh, that's the next item on the thing. Okay. Well, yeah, that's fine. We'll answer that when.
Funding part.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right.
Is that it?
That's it. That was it. Yeah. All right. All right. So no other questions. The chair would entertain a motion. Oh, wait, no, we don't have to.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I have to action awarding these contracts.
I move to award these contracts according to the presentation that we just received.
That was great stereo.
I second that, Dave.
Motion by Dave, second by Wayne. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It passes unanimously. Item 4 is to adjourn the Employee Benefits Trust meeting. And now we will reconvene the council meeting to take action on approving the funding of these insurance that we just approved.
Thank you, Mayor. Talking health insurance like that is very complicated. Makes me think, well, to talk about reverse mortgages and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's about as much as understanding.
Yeah.
And it's recommended that we approve the funding of the employee insurance plans that you just approved. Budget for fiscal 24 includes just under $1.4 million for city paid insurance premiums. The breakdown and the cost between employee and employer is included in this part of the discussion. As Charlotte mentioned, we pay $1,000 for an HSA contribution. The one thing that is recommended that we change from the past is in vision coverage. As Andrew said, that's kind of a voluntary coverage currently, and the employee pays 100% of that. What we'd like to change is for the basic $479 a month or whatever it is, for employee only coverage, that the city pick that up. So the city would provide 100% coverage for employee only for health, vision, and dental, if we make that change. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll ask the others. Any questions or comments here? All right, so a couple of questions. So when you say employee only, if an employee only is part of a family plan, is one person picked up on that or no one's picked up on the
They
vision?
would have to elect employee only coverage.
Right.
And then
Okay.
we do pay a portion of the employee spouse.
So the employee only, in those cases, we pick up everything 100%. There's no deduction from the employees, or do they pay $250 a month or
Now they would pay zero under the employee only option.
on any medical coverage, health,
Health, vision, and dental.
vision? dental?
Correct. Is that correct? Yes.
Okay.
And again, as I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, that would be good to see that.
I don't think we have
in the
that.
packet.
Yeah, that my thing
Uh,
didn't sync.
The one thing, so when we were going through and talking about this, we do have that rate cap of 9.9% with Scott and White for this year. As Andrew mentioned, our claims are far exceeding our premiums. So next year, we'll likely have to do an RFP and we'll likely have a substantial increase in costs. So it's next year when we would probably revisit the employee contribution percentages and things like that. That's when we're going to have to talk about plan adjustments.
Okay.
But for 2024, where we were standing, we were kind of just leaving everything as it sits, with the exception of that vision.
And the $1,000 that we contribute to the HSA on that portion, is that equal to the savings or less than the savings from those plans for the city? Because there's a savings when you.
It's probably less than the savings to the city. I believe the premiums, the high deductible, say employee only, the high deductible is $443. Versus on the HSA side versus a $599, that's per month.
Yep.
Under a PPO one. So $150 a month times 12. That was
Yep.
comparable maybe.
Yep.
Again, this is stuff that we're really going to have to get into
Well, I think.
if we're facing a big rate increase next year.
Well, that's the thing I was really going towards is some of these plans, behavior has to do with as much how much you pay versus how much you feel bad. And so I think the more we can incentivize those where you balance the tension between that, because you don't want to get it to where nobody goes to the doctor and they get sicker, but you don't want to go where at anytime, somebody changes the channel on the TV, you go to the doctor because you don't feel right.
Absolutely.
I think that we're going to have to look at that. If we're at a loss rate of where we are, we need to probably start looking at incentivizing through our plans, those things that are going to be beneficial to the city and the employee.
Yes, sir.
So I think in increasing my inclination, and I don't know that this is the place to do it. My inclination is whatever it's going to cost on any of the other plans is we roll that into it costs the same to the city. We shouldn't penalize somebody who's willing to take the risk and put it into an HSA. It forces a little more savings. Anyway, so I think just to be even, Stephen, because what you do is you have an imbalance right now on the thing that costs us the lowest. We're not balancing that. We're actually incentivizing the other way. Anyway, that's my own comment.
We've made some progress with with employees participating in the HSA over previous years. We did that through the employee contributions. We had a great number of people in PPO2, which is our most expensive plan. As we increased the cost of PPO2 substantially as far as the employee contribution.
Yep.
As to drive them in other directions. And it worked tremendously. We still have some employees in PPO2. But again, it's because we were at that rate cap, we just didn't get too drastic with those changes, knowing that 25 is going to be likely a substantial plan design changes.
Yep.
When we're talking next year.
Well, and just running the math, we're roughly again $150 a month on HSA cheaper for employee only, and between PPO1 and PPO2, we're $230 a month. And you multiply that times 12, that's going to be $1,800 or more. And I think, and anyway, I don't know what the annual average or the maximum is. Anyway, just something. Okay. I won't beat a dead horse, but that's, I think that would be beneficial for us to consider that. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Chair would entertain a motion.
A motion we approve these rates as a.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the presented funding of the insurance plan. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Thank you, guys. Item 8, hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from commercial 1 to commercial highway district on approximately 25.9 acres located on 3500 South Interstate 35 on the east side of 35, north of Shanklin Road and south of East Grove Road. All right, Tina, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, council members. Okay, this property is the current location for the Cedar Crest Hospital. So it is located south of Groves Road and just on the east side of Interstate 35. Here's a zoomed in look that's developed with their current use as a behavioral health and residency center. The current zoning for this property is commercial 1. Adjacent to the north is commercial highway. South and east is agricultural. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Across the street is agricultural use as well. The future land use map identified this area as a commercial corridor. This property was annexed and zoned back in 1987 to allow for the current behavioral health and substance abuse treatment center. The zoning was changed during the 2002 map revision that the city did to commercial 1. The applicant recently purchased 12.663 acres just north of their property to consolidate this. They submitted in a plat request to the city. And because the two different areas have two different zoning, the city thought it would be beneficial to have this as a conforming use in the commercial highway and recommended a zoning change to ask for uniform area requirements for the lots. The requested commercial highway use does allow for a proposed hospital and residential and nursing homes as well. Area setback and requirements, this exceeds the minimum lot size is 38.25 acres with the 2 consolidated lots. and it exceeds the requirements for commercial highway. For the water CCN, this is complete in the city of Belton, and there is domestic and fire protection services available at this property. Also, this is in a city sewer area, and we recently installed new sewer lines in that area. Notices were provided to property owners within 200 feet. We did get one letter of support from the adjacent property owner to the south. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting on October 17th and recommended approval of the requested zoning change. The use of the lot should conform to the commercial highway district. Development should conform to the standards for type 2 design areas. And a subdivision plan building permits are required prior to development. I'll be happy to take any questions that you guys have. Representatives of the hospital are here should you have any questions for them as well.
All right, we will at this point close the public here or close the council meeting and open public hearing on this item. If anyone would like to speak in favor or against this item, please come forward. I have two people that have already signed up. So number one, I've got Luke Potts. Name and address for the record to be formal.
On Duns Canyon Road, Belton, Texas. And I'm coming when all the Cedar Crest stuff came through P&Z. I recused myself because I actually am a member, an employee of Cedar Crest. But I want a chance to kind of give my thoughts on this. Now it's more, am I correct that this is more part of the next?
Yes, this is more part of the subdivision requirements than the zoning.
Okay, but you're not allowed to speak at at those? Is that what I?
Okay, there's not a public hearing posted
Okay.
for a bot, so please go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. But I want to talk about as Councilman O'Banion and Councilwoman O'Banion, Councilman Covington would attest and support. I've always been against perimeter street improvements in the essence of how they're done by Belton currently. We're asking for a waiver of that perimeter street improvement. Mainly because the easiest way to say it is I feel like it's illegal how it's being done now. When you read about any cases that have gone through the Texas Supreme Court or legislation that's been done, there's really two things that are essential to a perimeter street improvement. And that's the rough proportionality and the essential nexus. Rough proportionality is you have to actually judge the impact that that business would have on that street. So you can't have two people across the street. One would add 1,000 cars, one would add 5 cars a day, and yet give them both a charge of 50% of the total improvements. It's just not legal. And along with that, you can't, you have to actually, and it doesn't have to be an exact formula, but there has to be an effort of some kind of investigation to determine what that impact would be. Essential nexus basically says it has to actually have something to do with a goal of the city, and it still has to deal with that business. When it comes to what the city is asking of Cedar Crest, it fails both of those tests because all they are saying is there are 2 roads on the thoroughfare plan. They haven't been designed. One of them has actually been moved before, but they're saying because those lines are on the map that we need to pay 50% of what it would cost to construct those. And which that number is pretty extravagant. I believe it was close to $1 million they're asking. And it's hard to say that it achieves a goal. While infrastructure is always a goal of the city, it will not affect Cedar Crest one way or the other if those roads are taken away, whether they're built or not. All of the traffic that Cedar Crest deals with is on I-35. That's where the entrance is. That's where the exit is. And any other roads that are built around us will not affect the impact. We will not have an impact on either one of those roads.
You got about 30 seconds left.
Okay. I would just say that to finish up, I just don't think, it's the right thing to do when you're talking about a company that has been here in Belton for many years, provided a greatly needed service, and they're looking to do a $30 million project in our town, create over 200 jobs. And the answer from the city is, well, that's great, but give us another $1 million in taxes if you want your permit. I think it should more be on the lines of, let's give you a tax rebate. Let's not have you pay property taxes for the first 5 years.
Right.
There are many different.
We
things that the
understand.
city can
We
do.
got it.
Okay.
Understood. Yeah, time's up.
Okay.
Sorry about that. All right. Next is Brady.
Good evening, Brady Seraphin. I am the fairly new CEO at Cedar Crest Hospital. I really don't have a whole lot to add to Mr. Potts' testimony other than we agree with the rezoning, but we're asking for the waiver, right? I mean, so just to correct a couple numbers, not that I want to correct Mr. Potts, but I looked at the numbers right before coming. We're looking at investing about $50 million into a new hospital build. Those folks that are aware of Cedar Crest, we're a behavioral health and residential treatment center that currently serves 158 individuals in this county. We're looking at expanding that service to 245. So we're going to build a 96 bed, brand new state-of-the-art behavioral health hospital, very much needed in the state of Texas and the county. If you look at globally or in the United States, Texas falls in the bottom 10% of behavioral health services in the country. And there's some studies that will tell you that Texas is in the bottom 2%. We need to make some corrections to that. And Cedar Crest, Acadia Healthcare, is really diving in. We want to invest in this community. We have great resources. We're looking at adding an additional 300 jobs to this community. I looked up our tax, what we paid in tax last year, about 170,000. I'm sure that will more than double over the next couple of years when we go to build and complete this project. More importantly, we're going to provide a critical service to individuals that need it in this community. Again, Cedar Crest was built in 1988. It's been in existence for a long time. It's been part of this community for a long time, but it needs an update. Things have changed. Behavioral health world has changed. We need to provide the most up-to-date state-of-the-art services so our patients, your community members, are able to seek treatment and get well. The more we can do this, the better community engagement we will have, the better community engagement you all will have. We'll see less social ills in your communities if we can do this and do it right. So we're asking that you support the waiver. I think Mr. Potts put it well. From just my perspective as the CEO there, we want to take that capital and invest it into our operation, into our people and our patients. So I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak tonight, and thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much. All right. Anyone else would like to speak in favor or against this zoning change? All right. There being none, we will close the public hearing, reconvene, and consider action on item 8, which is the zoning change for from commercial 1 to commercial highway district.
Is the zoning change triggering this issue?
Or if you mean the plat, no, ma'am, the submission of the plat. And again, there's 2 neighboring properties with 2 different zoning, and hospitals are allowed in commercial highway, not commercial 1. That is what's triggering the need for the zoning change. The plat is triggered by the submission of the plat and our subdivision requirements that we look at when we're reviewing plats.
Yeah, the zoning change does not require the perimeter street improvements.
Well, I'll jump in. I think 3 of us were on P&Z during some of these discussions back when they happened. Before. Like Jimmy Fallon. It's really difficult for me to support that. I'm more on the side with Cedar Crest because I think that same variables are still in place. We've got streets that aren't designed. We've got and at that particular time, there was a street that we had just moved because we just didn't really care for where it was. And there was more to it, but we have that ability to move the streets on our land use map and our planning maps for future roads. And I just don't think we have enough future vision yet to chain, a business to that kind of investment for something that may or may not happen. And that's how I, again, stood at all the P&Z's meetings around these types of issues. I think this one is a little different on impact as well for what the impact will be on local streets. And this ties all back to my desire to revisit our land use map and really look at the vision for the future, because we're making these decisions that impact businesses financially significantly when I think we are going to see some things change in that area.
All right, this item is just for the zoning. We will consider the final plat and the variances in this next item. Any other comments or questions about the zoning? If not, the chair would entertain a motion.
Move we approve.
I-
I was gonna ask one more question. Logistics rise. Our map, everything you have on the white outline, and then the design of the new building seems to be a separate property.
It is, but they're consolidating the two properties
Oh.
and we're looking for uniform zoning for the two properties.
So this is the sum total of all the properties, 25.88 acres.
Okay.
Correct.
So my apology, I thought the variance was on this as well. So I'll
It's on
make a
the other
motion.
side.
We approve the zoning as presented.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the zoning. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Right. That's all unanimous. So this item passes unanimously. Next item is to consider a final plat for Cedar Crest, amending plat comprising 38.25 acres located at 3500 South Interstate 35. All right, Miss Tina.
Okay, thank you. You guys know where all this is located. And actually, I just realized an error. This is actually 38.55 acres. It's a one block, one lot for commercial development for the Cedar Crest addition. Water, again, this is all in the water, city water and sewer CCN district area. There's no extension of services needed for the plat. Access, there's existing driveway that's located on the southern portion of the property that's along the Interstate 35 frontage road. A second access is proposed for the new location north, and it will also access off of the frontage road. A formal issuance of a driveway permit from TxDOT is required prior to the issuance of the building permit for that addition. For street and sidewalk, the big one. Capitol Way is along the eastern border of this property, and the applicant with their previous plat submittal dedicated 40 feet of right of way. So with this portion, they're dedicating an additional 40 feet of right of way along the northern portion of the lot. And on Mesquite Road, during the first review of the plat in 2018, they dedicated 40 feet of right of way off of Mesquite. For the perimeter street improvement, developers are required to provide 1/2 of the cost, and that is up to 18.5 feet, and that includes all of the costs for construction, design, and construction costs. The owner has provided an estimate for Capitol Way. They're not seeking a variance for Capitol Way, and that is $187,000 approximately. They are seeking a variance for Mesquite Drive, which is estimated to be over $962,000. For the drainage plans are currently under review with the civil plans at the moment. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this at their meeting on the 17th and recommended approval of the plat and disapproval of the variance request. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Is there a way you can put a map up to show us where the Mesquite is and where the other road is and where entrances to the property might be
Yes,
other than 35?
yes, sir. So here is the location of the property. Here is Mesquite Road, and here is Capitol. And then if you recall from the future land use map, there is also an addition for Shanklin that will be, that would be coming from the south. That connects to Mesquite and to also Capitol Way to direct that traffic to the east. For driveways, I apologize, you did ask about that. There is one along the interstate, and they're proposing a second one on the northern part for where the new addition will be added.
So no opposition to Capitol Way.
No opposition to Capitol Way.
They're offering the 40 or the right of way for Mesquite.
Correct.
My question is, would TxDOT even allow a Mesquite to butt in there with it being so close to that off ramp? Do we know that answer?
We usually will coordinate with them. I believe they looked at our Therefore plans when we were going through that process. I know we've had a lot of coordination with them with Toll Bridge. Just don't remember the discussion on Mesquite. It's been a while.
Follow-up question, the KOA next door, did they provide the Capital Way?
They sure did. They provided over $63,000 for the Capital Way
Got it.
improvement, and also ProStar Rental to the north of that also provided 21,000 during that plat review for the Capital Way.
With Shanklin exit being where it is and the line, Skeet's not, for me, is not a. It's personal opinion. Yeah. There's 6 other.
And we can
Well, we may move
check
it.
that with TechDOT and clarify that. Recall,
That's the
the
one.
last time this came, in 2018, there was discussion about the alignment of that road at that point in time. And I believe
Yeah.
we engaged KPA to help us with the realignment of the road to the south. Our thoroughfare plan originally showed Shanklin going along the river, basically. And so that curvature, that curving alignment that goes north and then east is a result of that analysis. And I believe the east-west projection for Mesquite was also part of that analysis, but we can double check that for you and be sure.
Yeah, I didn't read very well. I thought we were talking about $1.2 million for just that little bit of Capital Way. I'm like, that's one that I felt was needed and trying to figure out how to, but I'm glad we have these meetings. 'Cause I can't do very well.
How does proportionality on Mesquite come to bear?
Well, that's one of those that we would probably need a traffic study to to provide us analysis for that area. It's a street that's not existing right now, but with that possibility, what would be the diversion instead of going to 35, the frontage way, you're going to Capital Way? How many people will probably get on that to avoid some kind of traffic or congestion in that area? We just don't know at that moment because it does not exist, but we just do need a study to be done to give us that possibility.
But they aren't proposing an entrance off Mesquite, correct?
Not currently, but it is available should they want to connect in the future if it's after it's constructed.
So if we approve the plat as is, they have proportionally no use of Mesquite or very little. After the traffic survey, some folks will come down and then come back down the access road.
As the current time, yes, there is no current proposal for an access off of Mesquite because again, it does not exist, but in the future there could be. And also we're looking at the impacts for the future development for the properties to the south and to the east of the property.
That's one of the big issues on this deal. I mean, Cedar Crest doesn't know what they're gonna do, but we don't know what's gonna happen in the future with Mesquite. And if they expand again to Mesquite, then we're left without any participation. I mean, this isn't a black and white deal. And first of all, it is legal. I love how lawyers say things are legal and illegal, no gray area. Well, this is legal. There's a statute providing for it, specific methods to go through. City's not doing anything illegal. I want to be real clear on that. Now, how it's apportioned, that's the whole ballgame.
Yeah.
I think this may be one of the things we want the governance subcommittee to take a look at along with P&C and come up with and I think factor in a proportionality as we know it at the time, because Mesquite's not the only road we're going to be adding. There's going to be some that are a lot longer than that one.
It's just really hard for me to see us making a decision based on what may or may not happen when I've observed myself, us making changes to things like a road and placement of a road and the impact that might have on a business. I just don't think.
And it is difficult.
Fair for us to do.
To see if once this is platted, then there's no provision for the city to come back later if, it's very difficult to plan for the city if you don't know what's going to be there. It's very difficult for the developer to be asked to pay for something when he's not putting anything in there. So we're way apart, both parties, and neither party is wrong. It's just, there's a lot of unknown.
But I don't think the burden should be on the business.
I'm not saying.
That's where I come from. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be planning and I'm right with you on that side. But I don't think this burden on Mesquite Road should be on a business with a huge unknown.
And the good news is the developer what they currently do is probably not going to be a huge traffic impact development. And And if they do decide, they got this property, it's real good, let's sell it to HEB, build a store there, that'd be a huge thing. But then they are replanting again and we can deal with it. If they
Exactly.
were to sell it to somebody else.
Right.
So you do have that.
And is this area in the TERS? Is this?
That's a good question. It's close if it's not.
And we could argue that this is a economic development area. So I mean, I think we have some.
Well, and that's a separate
Yeah.
separate discussion of, if we were to do
Those was the
infrastructure
cat later,
improvements, who would pay for that from the city perspective? But I think what we're arguing is the chicken and the egg is
Yeah, what the map that Tina has up now shows the commitment by other property owners in the area in terms of right of way and contribution towards perimeter street improvement requirements. It is the ordinance we have now. Certainly, the high price tag makes it a concern in terms of the impact and the fact that the applicant doesn't have any direct driveways to this location. But also keep in mind a thoroughfare plan is trying to guide improvement of these streets for the future and look at the property immediately to the south. We certainly anticipate hopefully some retail and commercial development in that area. We would anticipate a subdivision plat in that location. And so decisions that you make are going to be really important for surrounding properties as well, short of shifting the entire burden of the street improvement to the public.
Yep.
And so that's the balancing, the chicken and egg
Yep.
issue that we're trying to deal with here. Certainly recognize that it would be a huge expense, almost $1 million for this run. The distance is a little over a third of a mile. It's 1,850 feet for that southern boundary. So it is a substantial distance and the impact is certainly significant.
And Sam, maybe if the city isn't ready for that expansion development of those roadways, 100% requirement from the applicant and putting that in escrow for 5 years might not be the best solution.
Subdivision ordinance provides for 7 years.
7 years, and also provides for a letter of credit as well.
Letter of credit would also be a possibility. So if there were some amount determined appropriate here, that could be done by letter of credit. And if things don't happen within 7 years, that money would go back to the developer with interest. So.
And I guess my only other concern is that doesn't, at this point in time, doesn't seem to be their main entrance.
It's not.
Or an entrance at all.
It's not even a secondary entrance. There's no.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of commitment for no access.
Is the new building going where the Lakeshine Properties LLC is?
Correct.
Okay,
It is
I'm just,
on there.
okay, but that's not highlighted in yellow. Is that not?
the yellow is
included in
The yellow is what was previously dedicated. They're currently proposing to dedicate that with this.
That's the right of way dedication, not what we're talking about.
That's
perimeter street
correct.
Improvement.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's what's in the plan for the 187,000
Got
for
it.
that perimeter street improvement.
But for Capital Way, them and the KOA pretty much almost get us all the way to the existing Capital Way. Almost, short shot.
Almost.
Got it. Okay.
I'm biting my tongue. Any other comments or questions?
It's a difficult one. I think I support the city's position on perimeter street improvements and collecting the money for those when properties are developed. I also think the likelihood of building this road in the next 7 years is probably pretty low, which is at that point is when the money would be returned to the developer there. So I also think the likelihood of potentially not ever developing Mesquite Road and removing it from a thoroughfare plan is possible. So I don't want to set a precedent that developers don't have to contribute to perimeter street improvements, because I don't think that's appropriate. But $900,000 for a road that I don't think will probably be there in the near future seems like something that's hard to vote for.
How can we amend the motion?
We can, I'll jump in. I think
Okay.
as far as.
What if we cut that in half with a letter of credit?
Yeah, I think there's several things we could possibly do. And I guess as we deliberate, there's some things that we could do to make recommendations. We could amend. I mean, obviously we could just go black and white. This is what the code is. This is what we're asking you to do. There's also, we can just throw it out and say, hey, we're not going to ask you to do anything, or we find some wisdom in the middle. And I think what I'm hearing is some wisdom in the middle. We're looking at two roads. We're looking at a not clearly defined use of the land, intent, but not a clearly defined plat to know where buildings are going to go. I will say this on a chicken and egg thing. If Mesquite Road were already there, and Cedar Crest is looking at doing that, they would likely be able to put all of their main entrances off of Mesquite, where you could exit, go straight on Mesquite, and also save interior development as far as drives and stuff to get from this part of the property to others. So if it were already there, there would be a benefit. But since it's not there, to require them to then build a part of that road that's not there is probably too much. And so I think that what we have to do is also, Daniel brought it up, TxDOT is getting, and especially along I-35, it's not going to probably be safe to have two Cedar Crest entrances off of the access road, because people going there are doing 90 miles an hour when they get off of that road. I know the speed limit's whatever, 55 or whatever it is, but people are exiting that road, bypassing everybody on 35 and getting right back on 35. And so it's a very high speed area. So I think, just personally, I think it would be safer to have a Mesquite Road stub out, and then shift your entrance to be there. So what I was thinking is, what if we just said, hey, let's do 1/10 of the road, just a portion of the road, and it dead ends and allows Cedar Crest to have an entrance off of Mesquite to get into their property, because they've got a driveway there. I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do. I'm just saying that a portion of that perimeter street improvement, instead of going into escrow, could actually go into work where we actually get a road stubbed out that would then could access both of those properties. So that's one thought. I agree with, I think everybody that's up here is agreed. I think asking to put that much money up for a road that we don't have planned, it's not imminent, is probably too much burden on the developer. I also think that to not require any type of money to go towards sidewalks and a curb and gutter on that side, regardless of the road. But also recognizing that they're contributing the right of way, which is a cost. And so again, I think we've got a good partner here. They're willing to participate on the one road. I think what we have to do is amongst ourselves, come up with how do we split this baby? You know, where should we draw the line between 0 and 900 for the other? I think everything else seems to be pretty straightforward. I think we're all in agreement there. So anybody have, John mentioned, let's go with half and just have a line of credit for roughly $450,000. And then they leave that line of credit. And if we ever need to use it, we will. Is there other options other than 0 or full, or is the option 0?
Mayor, I'm just wondering if it might be valuable to table the item till a future meeting, give us a chance to visit directly with TxDOT on the questions that you raised, and perhaps meet with the applicant to try to see if we might come to some kind of a compromise on the proposal.
So is there anything that doing that slows them down?
Yeah.
Would the plat, would tabling the plat slow your process? So if we were to just table this to the next meeting, let you guys talk amongst yourselves?
No.
Okay.
I think the organization's looking for some clarity moving forward, right? So either could slow our progress. Investing this kind of capital is going to sit in an escrow account for years that may never be used, could slow our progress as well. So could tabling, that's an unknown. We'd have to go back to the engineering firm.
I would just state that the site plan is under review. It has not been approved yet. So we're waiting for a resubmission of the site plan to clarify some comments that were sent out to the applicant. So that's not approved yet for them to start construction. So just want to.
So if the site plan's under review, and if you guys were then to get with TxDOT, understand what that is, and by the time that's reviewed, then it could come forward.
Right.
Doesn't seem like that would add any time. because we meet every 2 weeks roughly. A 3-week deal. Oh yeah, that's because of new month. Yeah, that's right.
November 14th, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
3 weeks.
And I think the letter of credit versus the escrowing the funds is also a better instrument.
Say that again, Craig.
Letter of credit is
Letter
better.
of credit is a better instrument than escrowing the funds.
Yeah, I agree with that. But since the applicant has stated that they don't feel 3 weeks will slow them down, I think that's probably wise.
Do y'all feel like you can get answers in 3 weeks?
Oh, I agree.
Help me understand what we're asking.
Sound like the council wanted to clarify the issue about access from the interstate frontage road. We'd like to go back and verify
To what?
where
their-
those can be,
To the maybe or maybe not Mesquite?
And maybe or
Or-
maybe not their second.
their second driveway as
Right.
well.
And so let me say something about that too. I think we've said a lot about what maybe Cedar Crest should or shouldn't do. And I'm very uncomfortable getting to what they should or shouldn't do with that property on a second entrance, because that's a secured facility. It's so important that that property be established in a manner that they're able to secure it best. And from what I see, it looks like that back portion is new units and facilities that are going to have to be locked down, being a little familiar with Cedar Crest. So I just feel uncomfortable thinking about what you all may or may not do in the future. I just want to look at what you're telling us you're going to do now.
But TxDOT approves or disapproves cuts into the access road. So
Right, but that's not saying they are going to have a second entrance on
no,
the
I think what we're
backside.
doing, well,
Right.
she drew a little red thing showing another entrance up there.
At the front,
There, and then there was another one there
where is the second one? I'm sorry.
It's gonna
where it says service.
Shines property.
So they're both up front.
They're both up.
So it
both
still
on-
doesn't impact Mesquite.
No, but see, what would happen is TxDOT would not allow a Mesquite, a main drive, and a secondary drive in that short order on that road, because they really limit curb cuts, especially on access roads, and they may disallow all of those curb cuts. So I think we just need to figure out what that is. Not that we're telling anybody what to do, but we're asking our boss what our boss will allow us to do collectively.
Just looking at their criteria to be sure that what they're proposing is going to be allowed, and then how that might affect our proposal for Mesquite. We're just reviewing that one more time to be sure that we're all on the same page as far as likely accesses from the interstate frontage road. It doesn't change what they're doing in interior wise at this point in time, but it does affect their presumed access along the interstate frontage road.
Have y'all had any conversation with TxDOT yet?
I haven't been.
Because I know for reference on bidding on the RV park, they made them move utilities, move sidewalk, move head wall, and install a turn lane. So like that could be a thing for this that.
Yeah, if you were to have to install a turn lane on that, it may be more expensive than stubbing out of Mesquite and coming off of that. I think we just need to ask the.
Mayor, I just would not feel comfortable voting yea or nay on this tonight. I really think we could give 3 weeks to let staff
Here.
some illumination on the project, if that's a good word. And I would, we postpone final decision on this for the next meeting.
Because I don't want to take their money. I want to help them if we can.
Well-
And if
well-
having some clarity on what we're gonna have, what they may have to do, I mean, may help
Second.
ease everybody.
So we have a motion to postpone to the next meeting.
Second.
There's a,
John.
yeah, second. Okay, sorry, a motion and a second to postpone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 9 is postponed until the next meeting.
I'd like to add one final comment, though, that this just, to me, further supports our need to really look into our future land use map and our thoroughfare plan. I mean, those things that we keep talking about and we've changed in the past, we've changed recently. And I've asked for us to review that, look at our vision. What are our plans there? We've already seen change from multi, saying no to multifamily, but we need all in the same corridor. So I hope that that's something we're able to do in the near future, because I think those are the things that impact me when I'm talking about this, and the impact financially for sure it makes on a business.
Thank you, guys. We do. And we're going to work with you. So I appreciate it. All right. Item 10 is hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from agriculture to commercial 2 on approximately 2.76 acres located at 4073 West US Highway 190 Service Road on the south side of Interstate 14, west of FM 1670 and east of Dog Ridge Road. All right. Let's see.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is on the south side of Interstate 14 and just west of 1670. Here's a zoomed in look. As you can see, this property is developed with a commercial building just on the north side of the property. This property is zoned agricultural and surrounding zonings are agricultural. So for the light industrial zoning, a little to the west of the property. The backside of the property is rural Bell County area. Most of that area is vacant, except for one single family residential that's just southeast of the property. The future land use map identified this area as a commercial corridor. The applicant submitted this and this property was owned back in November 2004. The applicant submitted a sign permit application advertising their relocation to this area. Staff noticed the zoning does not allow for their proposed plumbing shop, so we requested that the applicant zone the property appropriately. The commercial 2 zoning district would allow for plumbing and other contract type offices in that location. The property exceeds the minimum requirements, which I believe is 5,000 square feet. This is over 2 acres and it exceeds that minimum area requirement. This is in a Dog Ridge water CCN. Domestic water is provided by Dog Ridge. Should they do an addition in the future, they would be required to put in some kind of fire protection. This is in the city of Belton sewer CCN. However, there are no existing sewer lines in that area at the time. The customer currently has an on-site sewage facility. Notices were provided to property owners within 200 feet of the property, and we did receive one support letter for this. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting on October 17, and they recommended approval of the zoning change from agricultural to commercial 2. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. The applicant is here. Should you have any question for Mr. Michael Jensen?
All right. This being a public hearing, we will recess the council deliberations and open the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak in favor or against this item, now is the time. All right, there being no public comments, we will close the public hearing, reconvene the council and consider action on this zoning change. Comments, questions, or a motion?
Seems straightforward. I mean, we approve zoning change as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the zoning change from ag to commercial 2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 11. Hold another public hearing and consider zoning change from agriculture to commercial 1 on approximately 4.4 acres located at 6564 Dog Ridge Road on the south side of 14, west of George Wilson and east of Simmons.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is again south of Interstate 14, and it is east of Simmons Road and west of George Wilson. Here's a zoomed in look. As you can see, this is developed. It's a commercial property, has 2 buildings and a warehouse on the building, on the property. Zoning for the property is ag. Surrounding zoning is commercial 1 with an SUP for indoor garage and agricultural on the north and 1 commercial highway that we recently rezoned over there. Again, this is in a commercial corridor for the future land use map. The applicant, this property was annexed back in December 2006 and zoned agricultural at that time. The applicant recently started construction to renovate the existing buildings on the site. A stop order was issued because it was done prior to approval for a building permit. As part of that permit process, a zoning change was recommended because the repairs that were done are more than just a normal maintenance and repair. The applicant is requesting commercial 1. He's looking at some leasable office spaces. So when the tenants, once the remodeling is complete, when tenants look at doing a interior finish out, we'll look at what type of uses are proposed and make sure that it falls into that commercial 1 zoning district. This property exceeds the minimum requirement for commercial 1. It's over 4 acres. This area is in the Dog Ridge CCN. Domestic water will be provided by Dog Ridge. Fire protections for any new structures must comply with the fire codes. This is it's actually outside of the city of Belton sewer CCN, and the applicant currently has an existing on-site sewage facility. Notices were provided to property owners within 200 feet of the property. We received no letters of support or opposition for this zoning change. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this item at their meeting on October 17th. The applicant is here, Mr. Michael Maganis. Should you have any questions for him as well? I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for me.
Awesome. This being a public hearing, we will recess the council and open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak on this item? There being none, we will close the public hearing and reconvene the council meeting and consider a motion or questions, answers, or questions, comments.
On the sewer CCN, you thought this was gonna fly through, didn't you? On the sewer CCN with the existing on-site sewer facility, when improvements are made, that could change the required permit with the Bell County Health Department. So I would just say that this is subject to Bell County Health Department approval.
Actually, I've been in touch with them. They cannot find any records of it, but because they're not doing any expansion, there isn't anything required right now. However, should they expand the facility, yes, they will need to provide some plans into Bell County for their approval for the expansion.
Then I move to approve as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the zoning change from ag to commercial on the 4.4 acres. Any comments or questions before we vote? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, nobody opposed. That's unanimous. All right, so thank you guys for being here tonight. Nice dark evening. Time change here soon, and it'll get a little lighter in the evening. We will now close the council or adjourn the council meeting. We are going to go into executive session pursuant to the provision of open meetings law, chapter 551, government code, Vernon's Texas codes annotated in accordance with authority contained in section 551-071, consultation with an attorney. We will not be taking any action after this. So good evening. Thank you guys for being here.
Is that for all of us?